Here we go, we're back, and let's see if we can't set up a function block diagram program, and one that we think would make our process actually work. So the first thing that we want to do is we know we've got a signal that we need to scale. So I'm going to pull in that instruction block, and I'm going to go down here and take my scaler right there. And here we go. We need to start setting up some of our tags, our variables. So let's pull this in, and we've got a variable right there, and that's going to be our LVL in. So LVL underscore in. Got it. Let's bring another one over here, and we need to define what our input min is going to be. So I'll click up here, and that'll be 0.0 because we're going to be using 0 to 16,383 scaling. Let's pull in our next one, close out of that, and that's going to be our high. Gotcha. Go back to toolbars. We need a couple more of these. There we go. I hate that window always popping up sometimes, you know? That gets on my nerves. 0.0 and one more. Let's pull that right over here, drop it in place, make it nice and neat. And that'll bring us up to 100.0. Good. Now we know we want that to happen all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and put a left power rail right in here. And yeah, it looks like I can just go ahead and put that thing all the way down. You can just drag it and expand it and connect it where you want it. That's pretty handy. And from there, we know we need an output. So let's go ahead and set our variable right here. And that's going to be our LVL. That's going to be our scaled value. Got it? And now what do we need? We need to start comparing and looking at that. So I'm going to pull in another instruction block, and I'll just put it right here. And I want a comparator of less than. So I can hit OK on that. And I know I'm going to be looking at my level. So let's see if I can't just copy and paste that level, bring that right down here, and line it up. Check that out. That worked out nicely. And we need one more. I'm just going to copy and paste a level out of here, bring that down, and instead of that being 100.0, I'll just make it 10.0. Alright, now we've got that set up, and we've got an output here which is just a bool, and we'll use that for a timer. So one more instruction block, and I'll drop that right in there. And let's scroll down and see if we can't find our TON. There we go. And I'm going to raise this up a little bit to align that 01 on my comparator with my in on my timer. Got it. And then I think I need to pull this thing out some because I know I want to have one more reference in there. I need to have another variable for my PT. So let's just copy and paste out one more variable. And let's see if we can fit that in there. It's a tight fit, but it went. And that's going to be T#5S. So I've got a 5-second timer on that. And it looks like I might need a coil connection on my time here. So let's see if I can just wrap this thing down here. And will it let me get that line out of the way a little bit? Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so I like that. And now that I've got it that way, I can probably slide this thing over here and just make it look that much better. There, okay. Alright, we're getting closer here. Now we've got one comparator checking the time on that. And what do we want to happen once we hit that time? Well, then we want to go ahead and energize a coil. So let's come over here, and we're going to take this direct coil, and I'm going to attach that to Q, and that's going to be our LL underscore trigger. Got it? And I think that is going to be good. So let's go ahead and copy all of that if it'll let me. There we go. And I'm just going to Control C and Control V to copy and paste that. And we're going to bring one more down here. There we go. Now we're going to be looking to see if we are not less than but greater than. And we're going to be comparing our level to the value of 90. We've got another 5-second timer. And then this guy is going to be our HH trigger. And I can go ahead and put that into the variable selector. And there. So now that we've got our triggers, we also need to set up our alarm bits. I'm going to take all of this and just slide it up a little bit so that we have a little bit more working room. Let's come back over here into Toolbox and start looking at how we can set up that logic. There actually is an alarm block under instruction blocks, but that doesn't do exactly what we want it to do, and it forces you to use hysteresis, which if you have a lag of your signal from actual changes in the machine, then it makes sense to use that, but we're not trying to get that technical here, so I'm just going to use simple digital logic. And at that, we're going to go ahead and pull in some of our pulse rising edge contacts. So let's start off by getting one of those in here, and we're going to look at the LL trigger. Right, come on, there we go. Hit OK, and let me space that out a little bit more. Better. So when we get that, what else do we have in here? We've got our direct coil, so we want to go ahead and energize a direct coil, and I will try to put that right here under the other direct coils, and that's going to be for our LL underscore ALM. Got it. And I can just draw that line. Good. And then we're also going to need another branch, and I think we can just draw that in, but we're going to find out. So let's start by pulling in another contact, and I'll drop that in right about there. That is going to look at the alarm itself, because that's going to be a hold-in. Then we want a reverse contact, which I can just drop right there. That'll be our ALARM underscore reset. Also a bool. Perfect. And oh, okay, it's cutting off a couple of letters in the middle, so I thought I just terribly misspelled that, but I didn't. So now I'm looking to see if it'll let me connect that, and it definitely does not let me connect that in. So that's okay, because I'm sure we've got some kind of an OR instruction block. So let's go ahead and create another instruction block and pull that down here. And let's see if we can't find an XOR. There we go. Boolean operations, Boolean exclusive OR between two terms. That sounds like exactly what we want. So let's go ahead and pull that right up here. And I'll just drop that there. And let me go ahead and delete that line, and then I'm going to draw some fresh lines right in between here. Good and perfect. Okay, so now basically we've created a branch using function block diagrams, and that's exactly what we needed to do. And it doesn't look like it's going to let me put that over there quite where I want it, so maybe I can just drop it over here. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, so now we've got our alarm bit, and we've got a way to make our alarm bit be quiet. And now let's copy this, because we're also going to want an alarm notification. So very similar logic, but just a different bit and one more way to shut it off. So actually let's just right click on this and take our variable selector And instead of LL alarm, that's going to be LL notification, also a bool. And I'm going to copy and paste this down here. And let me go ahead and delete that wire so that I can move this right in there. And then I will connect that. Perfect. And the last thing I need to do is create my alarm silence. Gotcha. Alright, now we've got a low alarm, and as you can probably guess, I'm going to copy that whole thing out, come down here and paste that in, and this is going to become our high very quickly. So let's go into our variable selector again. That's our HH. Down here to our notification, it's going to get the same attention. Good, got it. And basically everything else is going to stay the same, except once we get right over here. And that's going to point to our HH trigger. We've already got it defined, very nice. And down here, this is going to point to the alarm itself. So HH alarm. And this is going to point to the HH trigger, and then this is going to point to the HH notification. So let me check back and make sure I got all those straight. We've got LL trigger starting both of these. This is tied into the alarm. This should actually be tied into the LL notification. Then these are both started by the HH trigger, held in by the alarm and the notification respectively, and we've got silence and reset on the notifications, and we've just got reset on the alarm. So that looks pretty good, and at that point I think we've got this thing mostly built. Let's go ahead and come up here and bring in a power rail, and I'm just going to drop that right there. Let's slide this over just for housekeeping's sake. Good. And I'm going to bring that down. And assuming I need to have everything wired on the left and right, I'm just going ahead and dragging those around and getting it done. Let me scroll down here. Let's wire that in down to the bottom. Same for that. Love drawing all my little lines. But I think at this point we've got a working finished program. Of course, we're not going to be able to test that program and see if it works, but I think we do at least now have the experience that we wanted coming in here of programming in this environment and seeing how everything works. So I think I've got everything drawn up, and I can go ahead and test and see if this is going to work. And whoa, it looks like we've got actually a lot of errors. So let's see what we've got. It looks like we're having errors with all of our inputs into the scale and the timers. So you know what? I bet we probably don't need to have those connected to the rail. Let's get rid of all of those and see if that does the trick. One more. I wonder if I can just, nope, it doesn't let me draw any kind of box around those. That would have been convenient. Alright, and I wonder if I can shrink this back down. There we go. Alright, and let's see what that does. So device, build, and did we get rid of anything? Yep, that's all it was. So we got rid of all of our errors. Come back in here, and at this point it looks like we've got a working function block diagram program of our system. So that's what it takes in here, and you might have come up with a more elegant solution, but I think that gets the job done. So let's call that a wrap on this paradigm, and we will jump back in the next lecture, and we will start looking at structured text in CCW.